The Crothall battalion arrives with the confidence born from countless victories. They are the elite of the Empire, trained in the brutal art of warfare, and they have been dispatched to a remote, death world, to capture a human outpost. The mission briefing is straightforward: land, secure the area, and take prisoners. Their commanders emphasize that this is not a mission of conquest but a display of dominance. Humanity, they are told, is a species on the rise but still fragile, inexperienced in true interstellar conflict. The Crothall soldiers nod in agreement, convinced that this will be a swift and easy operation, another feather in the cap of the Empire's military might. The battalion lands on the planet in full force, their dropships descending through the thick atmosphere with mechanical precision. They are armored in high-tech exoskeletons, equipped with the latest weaponry designed to crush any resistance. As they disembark, they survey their surroundings with a mix of disdain and curiosity. To them, this world is just another battlefield, a proving ground for their superiority. They are briefed again on their objectives and form into squads, each confident in their overwhelming numbers and technological edge. The humans, they think, will be overwhelmed quickly and easily. As they begin their march toward the human outpost, they are immediately struck by the alienness of the environment. The ground is uneven, covered in a strange, moss-like substance that seems to cling to their boots. The air is dense with humidity, making it hard to breathe even through their filters. Yet they push forward, dismissing the discomfort as an unfortunate but temporary inconvenience. Their overconfidence is palpable. They joke among themselves about the stories they've heard of humans: weak, emotional, and unsuited for true combat. They expect a quick victory, with minimal resistance. But as they move deeper into the terrain, subtle signs begin to disturb them. The trees, with their twisted, elongated branches, sway without wind. Vines seem to shift position as they pass, almost as if they were alive, reaching out like fingers trying to grasp something unseen. Strange sounds echo through the air, noises that don't match any known animal or atmospheric phenomena. The fauna, small, agile creatures with glowing eyes, watch them from a distance, always just beyond their reach. The Crothall soldiers dismiss these signs at first, attributing them to the planet's peculiarities, but an undercurrent of unease begins to spread among the ranks. The terrain grows more challenging as they advance. The ground beneath them is soft and unstable, riddled with hidden pitfalls and sudden drops. Some of the Crothall stumble, their heavy armor weighing them down. The air becomes thicker, almost suffocating, filled with an acrid smell that seems to seep through their filters. Their equipment, so reliable in countless battles, starts to malfunction. Comms crackle with static, targeting systems flicker, and life support indicators show strange readings. The electromagnetic anomalies of the planet begin to interfere, causing subtle but persistent issues. The commanders, however, wave off these problems as minor inconveniences, urging their troops to maintain discipline and focus. As the day wears on, the first hints of danger become harder to ignore. Some soldiers report feeling a constant sense of being watched, their instincts screaming at them that something is amiss. The foliage seems to shift and change, as if it's observing their every move. Shadows flicker in the corners of their vision, too quick to be caught by sensors but persistent enough to unsettle even the most hardened warriors. Strange patterns begin to appear on the trees and rocks, symbols that seem to change when looked at directly. The soldiers, trained to be fearless, start to feel the stirrings of doubt. The commanders, sensing the growing unease, order a temporary halt to reassess their position. But they refuse to acknowledge any real threat. They dismiss the concerns of their soldiers, chalking it up to nerves or simple unfamiliarity with the terrain. "This is a planet of primitives," they remind their troops. "We are the Crothall. There is nothing here we cannot handle." The battalion continues to push forward, the commanders driving them on, determined to reach the outpost by day's end. Yet, as the first day draws to a close, a quiet tension settles over the battalion. The sky darkens, and the dense canopy of trees begins to close in around them. The strange noises grow louder, more distinct, a rhythmic thumping that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The soldiers grip their weapons tighter, their senses on high alert. They begin to feel the pressure of an enemy they cannot see, a presence that lurks just out of sight. Unbeknownst to them, human scouts have been shadowing their every move, carefully observing, calculating, and waiting for the right moment to strike. The Crothul continue their advance, unaware that they have entered a deadly game, one where the rules are dictated by those who know the terrain far better than they do. The first day ends without a direct confrontation, but the seeds of doubt have been planted. The Crothul march on, blind to the fact that their invasion has already begun to unravel. The Crothul soldiers press forward, their initial unease masked by a forced determination. They march deeper into the dense forest, their heavy boots sinking into the damp earth, unaware that they are stepping into a carefully prepared killing ground. The trees grow thicker, their twisted branches interwoven to form a canopy that blocks out the light. Visibility decreases, and the air grows heavier with moisture and the scent of unfamiliar vegetation. The commanders bark orders to stay alert, but their voices are tinged with irritation, not fear. They still believe this is a routine mission against a primitive enemy. Then, without warning, the ground gives way beneath their feet. Hidden pits, meticulously covered with foliage, open up, swallowing soldiers whole. The pits are lined with sharpened stakes, and screams of pain echo through the forest as those who fall are impaled. Explosions follow almost immediately. Mines and charges, buried in the underbrush, detonate with a deafening roar. Smoke and debris fill the air, and chaos erupts. The once orderly ranks of the Crothul are thrown into disarray. Some soldiers are blown apart, while others scramble to find cover. The first casualties fall, and for the first time, the Crothul taste the sting of a prepared enemy. Regrouping amid the confusion, the Crothul attempt to regain their formation. Their commanders, shouting over the noise, try to re-establish order, but the damage is done. The morale of the battalion has taken a sharp blow. This was supposed to be a simple mission, but they now realize they have underestimated the humans. The forest, once seen as just another obstacle, now feels like a trap ready to spring at any moment. The soldiers' eyes dart around, looking for threats they cannot see, and their hands grip their weapons tighter. Before they can recover, the next wave of attacks begins. From the shadows, human snipers open fire, picking off the Crothul one by one. The shots come from different directions, confusing the soldiers, who struggle to pinpoint the snipers' locations. They return fire, spraying bullets and plasma into the trees, but their targets are already gone. The humans strike and disappear, using the terrain to their advantage, always moving, always out of sight. The Crothul's sensors are jammed, displaying nothing but static and false readings. Their communications become erratic, with only bursts of frantic voices cutting through the interference. The soldiers find themselves firing at shadows, wasting ammunition on targets that have already vanished. Panic begins to spread through the ranks. The Crothul are used to direct confrontations, to overpowering their enemies with sheer force. This guerrilla warfare is alien to them, and they struggle to adapt. They expected an open fight but instead face an enemy that fights with patience, precision, and cunning. The humans are not engaging on their terms. They are dictating the rules of the battle, and the Crothul are playing catch-up. As the Crothul push deeper, the planet itself seems to turn against them. The flora, which had seemed innocuous at first, now proves to be a deadly hazard. The trees release clouds of toxic spores when brushed against, causing soldiers to cough and choke as the airborne toxins infiltrate their filters. Medic teams are overwhelmed with casualties suffering from strange symptoms: burning eyes, skin rashes, and respiratory distress. The fauna, which had seemed curious but harmless, suddenly become aggressive. Packs of small, nimble creatures attack in waves, biting through armor with teeth that seem almost engineered for it. Larger predators, previously hidden, leap from the shadows, dragging soldiers into the undergrowth before vanishing without a trace. The Crothul realize with growing horror that the humans are using the planet itself as a weapon. The terrain is filled with traps, not just mechanical but organic. Every step forward is a risk, every path a potential death trap. The environment is alive with threats, and it becomes clear that the humans have an intimate understanding of this hostile world. The forest, once thought to be a neutral battleground, is now an active participant in the conflict, its every element turned against the invaders. Fear begins to grip the battalion. The alien soldiers, conditioned to think of themselves as the galaxy's finest warriors, find their confidence eroding. Their commanders attempt to rally them, to restore order, but it is no use. The soldiers are disoriented, firing at phantoms, second-guessing every movement. Some stumble into traps, others succumb to the planet's poisons. The sounds of the forest, once just background noise, now seem filled with menace, every rustle a potential ambush, every shadow a hidden enemy. Their numbers dwindle, not from open battle but from a relentless series of unseen strikes. They lose soldiers to traps, to poisons, to the planet's fauna. The Krothal begin to understand that they are not just fighting humans. They are fighting an entire ecosystem that the humans have mastered and turned into their ally. The realization dawns that this is no ordinary enemy. The humans are fighting with an intelligence and adaptability that is alien to them. The planet is a weapon, and the humans wield it with lethal precision. The Krothal commanders, still trying to maintain control, issue desperate orders to retreat to a more defensible position, but the way back is no less dangerous than the way forward. Every step they take is a calculated risk. The once confident soldiers now feel the weight of dread pressing down on them. They realize they are caught in a nightmare, a battlefield where the enemy is everywhere and nowhere, and the very ground beneath their feet is hostile. The trap is set, and the Krothal are ensnared, facing an enemy they either understand nor know how to defeat. The Krothal commanders, shaken but resolute, attempt to regain control of the situation. They order their soldiers to push forward with brute force, using their heavy weapons to blast through the dense terrain that has become their enemy. Artillery shells and energy beams tear through trees and underbrush, clearing paths in a show of overwhelming firepower. Yet every step they take is met with resistance. The humans adapt, responding to each advance with cunning and precision. The humans use the terrain like an extension of their own strategy, setting up diversions and traps that draw the Krothal into narrow passages and choke points. Here, they are vulnerable, forced to move in single file or close quarters, perfect targets for human snipers who strike from unseen positions. Soldiers are picked off one by one, their bodies left as grim reminders of the enemy's reach. Every move the Krothal make is met with a counter, every tactic anticipated and exploited. The humans use hit-and-run tactics, attacking from multiple angles, and then disappearing into the thick foliage. The Krothal are left to deal with smoke, confusion, and constant fear. As the day turns into night, the psychological games begin. The humans leave messages in the native language of the Krothal, scrawled in alien blood on rocks and trees, mocking their efforts and warning them of what lies ahead. False trails are created, footprints and broken branches leading the Krothal deeper into the forest, only to end in dead ends filled with traps. They hear the cries of what sound like their own soldiers calling for help, only to find nothing when they rush to investigate. The humans mimic their voices, their languages, sowing seeds of doubt and mistrust among the ranks. The darkness brings new horrors. The humans use sound and light to their advantage, sending out sharp, disorienting bursts of noise and flashing lights from different directions. The Krothal, trained for straightforward combat, find themselves bewildered by this unseen enemy. They fire blindly into the night, wasting ammunition and exposing their positions. They are hunted like prey, unable to determine where the next attack will come from. Some begin to panic, shouting at shadows, shooting at imaginary foes. Their fear feeds on itself, growing with each passing minute. Paranoia begins to seep into the Krothal ranks. Accusations fly. Soldiers blame each other for failures, for cowardice, for falling into traps. Fights break out among them, quick bursts of violence as discipline breaks down. The chain of command weakens as distrust spreads. Some soldiers, unable to cope with the constant fear and confusion, desert their posts, disappearing into the forest. The humans exploit this disarray, capturing deserters and extracting valuable information about enemy positions and plans. The Krothal commanders, realizing the danger of internal collapse, desperately try to maintain order. They change tactics, attempting to mimic the guerrilla warfare used by the humans. They break their forces into smaller squads, instructing them to move quietly, to lay their own traps, to try and think like the humans. But their efforts are clumsy, lacking the finesse and understanding that comes naturally to their opponents. They are used to direct confrontations, to overpowering their enemies with sheer force, not to fighting an enemy that seems to disappear and reappear at will. The humans remain a step ahead. They anticipate every move the Crothall make, countering their attempts to adapt with swift and calculated strikes. The alien soldiers, used to being the predators, now feel like the prey. They realize that they are not dealing with a primitive foe but with an enemy that is turning every weakness into an advantage. The humans fight with a ferocity and creativity that is unlike anything the Crothall have ever encountered. They are not constrained by the traditional rules of war. They fight with the full force of their intelligence, their instincts honed by a lifetime of surviving in the harshest conditions. The Crothall's numbers continue to dwindle. They lose soldiers not to direct battle, but to the constant strain of fighting an enemy they cannot see, cannot predict. Their resources are stretched thin, their morale is at an all-time low, and their commanders are running out of options. They are being outmaneuvered at every turn, their confidence shattered. What began as a mission to capture a human outpost has turned into a desperate fight for survival. The realization begins to sink in. They are up against a force that is using every tool, every resource at its disposal to outthink and outfight them. They had underestimated the humans, seeing them as mere primitives, but now they see the truth. The humans are not just warriors, they are survivors, hunters who have learned to use their environment as a weapon, to adapt to any threat, to fight with a tenacity that borders on the terrifying. As the Crothall commanders struggle to find a new strategy, they face a sobering truth. They are not prepared for this kind of war. They have trained for open battles, for direct assaults, but they are losing to an enemy that uses the very land against them. The humans have turned their greatest strength, their adaptability, into their most potent weapon. The Crothall are no longer fighting a battle for victory. They are fighting a battle to survive, against an enemy that shows no signs of tiring, no sign of relenting, and no mercy for those who dared to invade their home. The Crothall commanders, their confidence now replaced with grim determination, understand that their situation is spiraling out of control. Desperation creeps in as they recognize the gravity of their predicament. They call for reinforcements and supplies, hoping to regroup and mount a renewed offensive. But as their calls for aid are met with silence, panic begins to set in. The humans have severed their communication lines, jamming frequencies and intercepting transmissions. No messages reach their fleet in orbit, and no reinforcements are forthcoming. The realization that they are alone on this hostile planet sends a ripple of fear through their ranks. Their supply drops, meant to provide fresh ammunition, medical supplies, and food, are ambushed before they can reach the ground. The humans, aware of the Crothall's dwindling resources, have anticipated these efforts. The supply ships are shot down or intercepted, their contents stolen or destroyed. The Crothall are forced to ration what little they have left. The wounded and sick, once cared for, are now abandoned, left to their fate as the battalion presses forward in a last-ditch effort to complete their mission. The commanders, driven by a mix of pride and desperation, decide to launch a final assault on the human outpost. They gather their remaining forces, determined to break through by sheer force. It is a gamble, a desperate bid to seize victory from the jaws of defeat. They believe that if they can strike hard and fast, they might still succeed. With one last rallying cry, they charge toward the outpost, weapons blazing, hoping to overwhelm the humans with sheer numbers and brute strength. But the humans have anticipated this final, desperate move. The path to the outpost is littered with traps and explosives, carefully placed to inflict maximum damage. As the Crothall charge forward, the ground erupts in a series of controlled detonations, throwing bodies and debris into the air. The soldiers stumble over hidden tripwires, triggering more explosions, while sniper fire rains down from hidden positions. The Crothall formation disintegrates under the relentless barrage. Their charge is broken before it can even reach the outpost walls, their momentum shattered by the calculated resistance of the human defenders. Confusion spreads among the Crothall ranks as they find themselves caught in a deadly crossfire. They try to regroup, but every attempt is met with another ambush, another round of traps and explosive surprises. Soldiers fall by the dozens, and those who survive are forced into disorganized retreat. The chain of command, already frayed, finally snaps under the pressure. Orders are shouted, countered, and ignored. The commanders' voices are drowned out by the sounds of explosions and screams. The battalion's morale, already fragile, collapses entirely. Soldiers, exhausted and demoralized, begin to abandon their positions. Some throw down their weapons, desperate to surrender, but they are met with cold indifference from the humans. The humans do not respond to their pleas, showing no interest in taking prisoners. Those who attempt to surrender are cut down without hesitation. The Krothul come to a horrifying realization. This is no longer a mission to capture an outpost. It has become a fight for survival. The once proud battalion, known throughout the Krothul Empire for its strength and discipline, is now a shattered remnant of its former self. Soldiers flee in every direction, seeking any means of escape. The commanders, their authority broken, try to rally the troops, but their words carry no weight. The soldiers are deaf to orders. They are driven only by fear and the desperate hope of finding safety. As they attempt to retreat back to their landing site, the humans pursue them relentlessly, harrying their every step. Traps are sprung, ambushes are set, and the Krothul are picked off one by one. They are forced into narrow defile, funneled into choke points where they are easy targets. The forest seems to close in around them, every shadow hiding a potential threat. The planet itself feels alive with menace, and every step is a gamble between life and death. Only a handful of Krothul make it back to their dropships, and even fewer manage to leave the planet's surface. The humans, having achieved their objective, allow some of them to escape, knowing that the story of their defeat will spread throughout the galaxy. The surviving Krothul, broken and humiliated, flee back to their fleet, carrying with them tales of a death world, where humans wielded the planet itself as a weapon. Their mission, once thought to be a simple display of dominance, has ended in utter disaster. The humans watch from the shadows as the last of the dropships take off, leaving behind a battlefield littered with the dead and dying. They have won not through sheer force, but through strategy, adaptability, and the use of every tool at their disposal. They have shown the galaxy that on this death world, they are not the prey, but the ultimate predators. The lesson has been taught. Humanity is not a species to be underestimated. The Krothul leave, a few survivors destined to tell the tale of the warriors they met, and the graveyard planet they dared to invade. The surviving Krothul soldiers, few in number and deeply shaken, limp back to their homeworld. They are a shadow of the proud battalion that once set out, their armor scorched and dented, their eyes hollow with the weight of their defeat. They report to their leaders, their voices heavy with shame and fear, recounting every detail of the invasion's failure. They speak of the cunning traps, the relentless ambushes, and the eerie silence of an enemy they rarely saw but constantly felt. They describe the humans as ghosts, as hunters who turned the planet itself against them, as warriors who fought with a blend of intelligence, instinct, and ferocity unlike anything they had ever encountered. The Krothul leaders listen, their initial disbelief giving way to a grim realization. The Empire had underestimated these humans, dismissing them as mere primitives. They had assumed that their superior numbers and advanced technology would make quick work of a fledgling species. But the reports tell a different story, one of a force that adapted to every tactic, countered every strategy, and used every aspect of their environment to their advantage. The leaders begin to understand that the humans are not just warriors. They are survivors, shaped by a world that is as much their weapon as it is their home. The Krothul leadership convenes in a council to analyze the reports. They study the tactics employed by the humans, the psychological warfare, the strategic use of the planet's natural dangers. They realize that the humans are not just physically formidable but mentally and psychologically resilient. They do not fight like other species. They do not rely solely on brute strength or superior technology. Instead, they use everything at their disposal, their surroundings, their intellect, their sheer willpower. They adapt, they learn, and they evolve with every encounter. The humans do not just survive, they thrive in conditions that would break most other species. The leaders recognize that humans are capable of turning any environment into a battlefield. Their adaptability makes them unpredictable, and their resilience makes them nearly impossible to break. This realization sends a shiver through the Council. They understand that humans are not a threat to be taken lightly. They have proven themselves to be the deadliest warriors in the universe, not because of their size or strength, but because of their relentless spirit and their ability to turn any situation to their advantage. A new caution settles over the Crothall leadership. They begin to reassess their plans for future engagements with humanity. What was once considered a mere skirmish has become a turning point, a lesson in humility and respect. They recognize that any conflict with humans is not just a battle against another species, but a confrontation with a force that can turn the very fabric of reality into a weapon. The Crothall realize that to fight humans is to fight a foe that does not play by the rules of conventional warfare, a foe that is always ready to rewrite the rules to their favor. The leaders quietly send out orders to their fleet commanders: avoid direct confrontations with human forces unless absolutely necessary. They begin to strategize differently, looking for ways to mitigate risks, to prepare for an enemy that they now know is capable of surprising them at every turn. The Crothalls shift their focus from conquest to diplomacy, understanding that humanity may be a better ally than an adversary. In a final act of caution, the Crothall leaders draft a discreet message to other major alien factions. They share what they have learned, warning them of humanity's true nature. The message is clear and unembellished: humans are not to be underestimated. They are not the weak, inexperienced species many believe them to be. They are adaptable, resourceful, and relentless. They are capable of making any terrain their battlefield and any obstacle their weapon. The message urges caution, urging the galaxy's powers to think twice before engaging with humanity. It is both a warning and an acknowledgement, a recognition that humanity's reputation as the universe's deadliest warriors is well earned. The galaxy takes notice. Whispers spread among the stars of the battle on the Death World, of the defeat suffered by the Crothall, of the humans who fought like no other species had before. Slowly, perceptions begin to change. The galaxy begins to see humanity not just as newcomers but as a force to be reckoned with, a species whose strength lies not in their numbers or technology, but in their spirit, their ingenuity, and their unyielding will to survive. The lesson is learned: humanity is not a foe to be taken lightly. They are a force that, when angered, can make even the vastness of the universe tremble.